Today we have a new drag car that just may be the fastest out-of-the-box drag car we've ever tested. But is it? Well, today we're gonna find out as we check out the car, drive it, and then go full send with the all-new Traxxas Drag Slash. Traxxas is no stranger to the drag strip, and years ago released one of the coolest ready-to-run drag cars that's ever been created, and that was the Traxxas Funny Car. A couple of years later, Traxxas offered their how-to drag slash conversion kit video, and it has almost 400,000 views. Now it's a few years later, and we have another purpose-built RC drag car, the Traxxas Drag Slash. Now, as you can imagine, this is a fully ready-to-run vehicle that comes assembled, including the electronics, the painted C10 body, transmitter, and more. There are a few items required, like 4 AA batteries for the transmitter and a battery pack for the truck. Now, as many of you know, you cannot use a 3-cell and no prep drag racing as per the rules, and you must use a 2-cell LiPo. Because of this drag slash comes geared and configured for 2S use, and Traxxas recommends this 7600 mAh battery to do it. Although, the truck is compatible with 3-cell LiPos, so we've tested and speedrun both, but we'll get to that later. Now, at the forefront of this drag car is the new drag-inspired styling with an officially licensed 1967 Chevy C10 body. This is a Lexan body that's been pre-painted from Traxxas in a metallic blue paint, officially called Brilliant Blue. And it really does look brilliant for RTR paint. 5 other color options are available: Redline, Green Machine, Ultraviolet, Diamond White, and Midnight Black. To make the bodies look more realistic, Traxxas has added injected molded hard plastic accessories to add details where the Lexan can't, like with the hard plastic front grille section, the parking lights, and the headlights. These are proper LED-ready light buckets, but they don't include LEDs, so you'll have to add those yourself if you want them. Now, moving below the grille, the front bumper is also made from hard plastic, and it, as well as the other accessories, are secured from the inside. The Chevy logo on the grille, that's a decal. Now, from what I can tell online, all of these front area pieces would have been chrome on the original C10, so for Traxxas to change it to a blacked out look definitely feels a bit more sporty and aggressive, more appropriate for a drag racer. Now, the side of the bodies are left clean with a Chevy C10 logo and a blacked out door handle. The windows are also blacked out with decals, and they're used on all windows. Moving towards the back of the body, the C10 features a proper drop bed, which can be tricky to form with Lexan material. This bed features a tub design like real drags, where the inner wheel wells are moved inward to make room for wider than normal drag tires. The bed also receives some detailing with decals. Back here, you'll also find an injected molded Pro Street style wing that's been bolted on from the inside as well. Now, finally, all the way in the back, the Drag Slash features a few more decal details for the taillights and the Chevrolet branding. Below is the second hard plastic bumper. Again, it's blacked out and it's been notched slightly to allow access for the wheelie bar. This wheelie bar is pretty nice too, with 5 different height adjustments that you can access by removing 2 screws. There are also 2 different wheel sizes included to fine-tune the bar height, with the larger 26mm wheels and the smaller 18mm wheels, and they roll directly on a plastic rod. Overall, this wheelie bar has a good amount of flex, and that's really great if you're gonna just be playing around, bashing in the street, because it absorbs any impacts if you crash. But for competitive racing, a stiffer and more rigid aftermarket wheelie bar, it's gonna be ideal. The tires and wheels are another cool area on this drag slash, and they're officially licensed Mickey Thompson drag tires glued to weld drag wheels. The wheel fitment is a 12mm hex, so it's compatible with all the other drag wheels and tires of this type. Now, up front, those are treaded skinny tires, and the rears are ultra wide drag slicks, and they are wide, wider than your standard drag tire. And the rubber compound feels pretty soft, so these should be promising. And to make sure they are, there have been many other drag prepped areas on this slash, like the use of the low center of gravity 2-wheel drive slash chassis, and that's been equipped with shorter Bandit buggy length suspension arms. From there, Traxxas has installed a new front foam bumper and bumper mount. The front shock tower features adjustable body mounts, which is really nice because there's a lot of other aftermarket bodies out there. And perhaps this is why Traxxas went with using body clips to secure the body instead of the clipless systems that they've been releasing more recently. If you love RC, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Now the Drag Slash also uses 4mm steel adjustable links to adjust your front toe, your front camber, and your rear camber, and the tool to do it is included. The Traxxas Ultra Shocks are also used, but they've been tuned for drag racing, with harder springs, 20 weight fluid in the front shocks, with bump stops on the shafts, and 60 weight fluid used in the rear shocks. The rear shock tower is also updated, with body mounts directly on the top of it and a pass-through hole for the motor wires. The transmission is another big update, and it uses the new Magnum 272R, designed to handle those instant hits of torque off the line. The gearbox is made up of 2 case halves with a blue anodized aluminum motor plate. The cool thing though is that you don't have to tear apart the gearbox to get to the differential because it pops out of the bottom once you remove the tranny from the chassis. That differential and the gearbox use all metal gears. There's even 500,000 weight fluid installed into the diff, which is pretty proper for drag racing. The rear drive shafts have also been updated for more power, and they're from the 4x4 off-road trucks. Of course, there is an adjustable slipper clutch behind this motor guard, and the use of these plastic gear mesh inserts, which set your gear mesh for you. Now there are 2 of these inserts included actually. There's one installed and one with the optional high-speed gearing, which of course is not installed yet. Now Traxxas recommends using the installed 22-tooth pinion gear for just normal driving, and then use the high-speed 29-tooth pinion gear for drag passes only. Otherwise, you could overstress the VXL Brushless system, which is the VXL 3S ESC with a little programming cheat sheet next to it, and then that controls the Villenion 3500 kV brushless motor. And this system is pretty fast. How fast? Well, with our fully charged 2-cell LiPo battery and using the installed 22-tooth pinion gear, we were able to achieve a top speed of 39 miles per hour. Next, we changed the gearing to the high-speed 29-tooth pinion gear and tried again. And after a few passes, we were able to achieve a top speed of 48 miles per hour. Now we know the VXL 3S system is 3S LiPo compatible, but like we mentioned earlier, Traxxas has tuned the Drag Slash gearing for 2S use because 3Ss are not allowed for competitive racing. So this means a 3S can only be used briefly for high-speed runs. And as pointed out in the manual, this is putting us closer to level 5 skill level for experts only. So let's try it. Using this 5000 mAh 3S Traxxas LiPo, we tried again. First using the 22-tooth pinion gear, which achieved a top speed of 54 miles per hour. Now last but not least, we put on that 29-tooth high-speed gearing and let it rip. And the car is so powerful, it just wheelies if you pull the trigger all the way. But we did achieve 62 miles per hour. Now as a quick band-aid, we grabbed these ProTech weights and we put 1 strip of 55 grams on the front bumper to help keep it down, but it really wasn't that helpful. So we ended up putting a second strip, which totaled 110 grams of extra weight. And this was a little bit better, so we went for it. And in the end, we were able to achieve a top speed of 65 miles per hour with the Traxxas Drag Slash. Just like with the other VXL vehicles, the Drag Slash is equipped with TSM, or Traxxas Stability Management, and we found that when doing these straight-line high-speed runs, stability was best when turning TSM down a bit. The TSM can be a great help though for other applications, but for anyone that wants to compete in drag racing, the TSM assistance is not allowed. So that's why Traxxas gave this car TSM with drag mode, and that essentially turns off the TSM assistance and gives you a visual feedback with this blinking light. So the idea is if you go through a tech inspection before your race, the techs can visually see that your TSM assistance has been turned off and you're legal to drive. Now what is allowed is the new trans brake function, which is intended to allow you to launch the car faster off the line. Essentially, you hold down this trans brake button with your thumb, you pull the throttle to the point where you want it, and then you release the trans brake to launch. And it's a nice drag-inspired feature that should be very useful on the strip. Now here's something else that's really useful for people who want to race, and that would be to install the aluminum steering rack set from Traxxas, and only because it's a direct system without a servo saver, unlike the system that comes in the Drag Slash. Now servo savers are great for absorbing impact energy and saving your servo, but they can also make the steering feel spongy, numb, less precise, and not center as well. So they're a great upgrade for racers, but not necessarily street bashers. And the Drag Drag Slash Can Street Bash. Now the extra wide Mickey Thompson tires on this car are really good, and so far they're probably the best ready-to-run drag tires we've ever tested. And honestly, they're some of the best looking tires and wheels too. But because they generate so much traction, street bashing on abrasive high traction surfaces is not so good, because it's just so much harder to toss the car around. It doesn't want a power slide or anything like that, or it will traction roll. On the other hand, with lower traction surfaces, the car is much more tossable and it slides around better without rolling over. But ultimately, the Drag Slash is a drag car, and it not just looks the part. Traxxas has set up and tuned the car specifically for drag racing, for going straight, fast. The tuning could be changed to be set up more for street bashing, but that's not how it comes out of the box. Instead, this is meant to be a drag car, and I think Traxxas has pulled it off rather successfully, with drag-tuned shocks, differential, transmission, transmitter, tires, and wheels. It's pretty polished, and it treated us pretty well with only a few minor issues, which were the tires expanded so much they rubbed on the chassis and the side guards right here, probably when we did our 65-mile-an-hour speed run. Second, the tires rubbed on the body, removing some paint, which you can easily remedy by putting decals over these spots when the body is new, which obviously we didn't, but it's not such a big deal. Overall, the Drag Slash is awesome, and I love it. The worst thing you could say about the Drag Slash is it is expensive at $499, which may be a turnoff for some, while being totally worth it for others. Guys, check out the Drag Slash with our links down below, and check out these videos for more RC.